All right. Well, thank you, Lily, for that introduction. And hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Daniel Gonzalez II. And for the past 11 months, I have been working at the South Coast Research and Extension Center in Irvine as part of my service term with GrizzlyCorps. Being one of the 9 research and extension centers in the UC Agricultural and Natural Resources REC system, South Coast functions as a regional living laboratory for UC scientists to conduct agricultural and natural resources management research and extend research-based information to a wide spectrum of audiences. In addition to being an outdoor laboratory, it is also headquarters to the Orange County Farm Bureau, various UC cooperative extension programs, and several research and extension programs addressing human-wildlife interactions, urban forestry, nutrition, family, and consumer services, and last but most definitely not least, water resources, which is where I was appointed. So yeah, UCA&R SoCal Water Resources includes a number of subset programs led by my mentor and site supervisor, Dr. Esther Lofton, who happens to be the Urban Watershed Resilience Advisor, whose research gears towards providing recommendations and guidance on watershed stormwater managers, policymakers, and the general public to make better decisions on water resources management in both urban and agricultural settings. So, as a research and extension specialist, I joined the Urban Watershed Resilience team in their efforts to boost educational resources on water supply security throughout the Orange, Los Angeles, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties. Today, I will be sharing how the brunt of my assignments specifically centered around helping to enhance the study and development of nature-based solutions for stormwater management across Southern California. So 4 counties is obviously a lot of ground to cover, and with that comes a range of unique stormwater management challenges rooted in differing geography, climate, and urbanization patterns. Through the water supply security blog, we are looking to highlight how nature-based solutions can offer eco-friendly alternatives to conventional stormwater infrastructures by mimicking natural hydrological processes to control stormwater at its source, reduce runoff, enhance water quality, and yield ecological and social benefits. Implementing nature-based solutions in Southern California presents an opportunity for us to address the dual challenges of flooding and drought while enhancing community resilience. So originally, regarding my capacity building goals, I wanted to have more opportunities to develop my skills in ArcGIS, engage with local communities one-on-one, and build my professional network. However, my specific objectives throughout the fellowship shifted quite a bit as interests changed and limitations were met. Over time, my overall goal slowly evolved into serving as a sort of academic conduit between rec members and community representatives, as extending outreach and education to Southern Californian communities on practical, innovative strategies for achieving sustainable water supply and management became the focus of my work. In this presentation, I will briefly describe my capacity building efforts within this context, basically going over the main projects I led or contributed to over the past 11 months. All right, water supply security. In the short time that the water supply security program has existed, the gaps we have identified are community knowledge barriers in what water agencies are doing, few existing demonstration projects that actually showcase effective stormwater management in residential areas, and little to no knowledge on the effectiveness, operation, and maintenance of nature-based solutions in Southern California. So much of my efforts in addressing these challenges centered around, how do you say, creating materials on different water supply security strategies for our blog under the UCA&R SoCal Water Resources website. And I'd like to take a moment to just break down what that looks like for all of you. First, I choose a topic from a list of blog post ideas focused on stormwater management with an emphasis on nature-based solutions in Southern California. Second, I would do the research and then write the article that you see right here. But before actually publishing that article online, my draft would enter a revision period, which, like for all academic writing, could sometimes take quite a while. Fourth, and once revisions had been made, I would translate the article to Spanish to better accommodate Southern California's large Hispanic population. Fifth, I would finally publish the article on the UC A&R website, as I mentioned before, right here. Six, I would create and share a flyer for said article throughout social media platforms, just to create a little buzz around it. And last but not least, I would have to transform the article into a fact sheet brochure, which are these two images right here, top and bottom, uh, where the article's content was modified for even greater accessibility. So I had to do this 5 times on 5 different topics, with the topics being an introduction to stormwater management in Southern California, rain gardens, urban tree canopies, permeable materials, and climate change's impact on stormwater management. And for each blog entry, along with all of its related materials, I had to translate them, basically everything into Spanish. So I had to create two of one thing. And whenever I was not creating resources for the blog, I engaged in various workshops and meetings to share any relevant information I had researched. One thing I definitely did not expect to be on my list of service duties was content creation and social media management. I gained access to the TikTok and Instagram pages for UC A&R SoCal Water Resources. And aside from using those platforms to simply share content on urban watershed resilience, my supervisor and I also worked on promotional tactics to enhance our team's social media presence. At the beginning of my service term, our Instagram account had less than 10 followers, and now we're sitting at over 100 and counting. And I know that's not that crazy of a milestone, but hey, it's a pretty big step for us. I also had the chance to work on a bit of website design here and there, where I helped with formatting parts of the online directory for the programs, like you see over here, and projects under the SoCal Water Resources website, creating pages for water supply security and linking shortcuts for all the resource materials I had created over the months. Additionally, I translated numerous other fact sheet brochures for SoCal Water Resources drinking water quality and environmental water quality programs, with those programs focusing more on highlighting the active contaminants that may be persistent in and affecting our municipal water supplies. South Coast Rec also offers a monthly newsletter for community members to stay updated on upcoming events and developing research projects. Since the beginning of this year, Esther and I have worked to have relevant content ready for each monthly newsletter. Regarding reports, recently I was assigned to create an easy to read infographic that basically summarizes Assembly Bill 1572, which you can see right here. You can find the actual infographic as a post on our social media pages, but in it, I just define what potable water and non-functional turf are, the purpose behind Assembly Bill 1572, its exemptions, phase band dates, and more educational resources on the bill. For another one of my water supply security blog entries, I also got to attend this year's National Forum on Nature-Based Solutions. This was a 2-day event at the National Academy's Beckman Center in Irvine that brought together national leaders and practitioners to discuss innovative nature-based approaches uh, for hazard mitigation and regenerative action. The report itself is still being written, but my key takeaways from the forum was its emphasis on the importance of curating long-lasting relationships with each other and the lands we inhabit in order to properly address the realities of climate change, stressing that to accelerate the implementation of nature-based solutions, streamlining promises, permitting processes, and enhancing private sector engagement are crucial. So a lot of what I just went over was accomplished remotely and behind a computer screen, not really requiring me to meet with people in person a lot. However, I did have some opportunities to personally engage with local communities. In fact, I honestly jumped at any opportunity that would allow me to do so. I attended a number of conferences and volunteer events whilst representing the SoCal Water Resources team. Most notable of those conferences being the 2024 Water Revolution Symposium hosted by the Council for Watershed Health. Through this event, I was privileged enough to visit the Pure Water Southern California Innovation Center, which is a facility that's home to another living laboratory and demonstration plant that once fully operational would allow for purified water to be transported up to 60 miles through a network of pipelines to groundwater basins, industrial facilities, and potentially to other metropolitan water treatment plants as well. We also had a few site visits where we connected with some community water districts. The Riverside County Flood Control and Water Conservation District gave us a tour of their landscape and some insight into their project on creating anti-polluting infrastructure that uses or mimics natural processes. With the district itself at Riverside having constructed permeable pavement systems on its campus to assess the efficacy of various low-impact development stormwater best management practices, and how they would behave or how successful they would be in like arid regions throughout the Inland Empire. Esther and I also toured the demonstration gardens at the Irvine Ranch Water District, which offered us a chance to identify the intersections between sustainable stormwater management and California native or climate appropriate gardening. Uh, and of course, our community events. We hosted a number of field days for master gardeners in local high schools, where we conducted lessons on the fate and transport of urban watershed resources. However, I think my my favorite events from this year would have to be what I got to do during Earth Week. So on the week of April 21st, I was asked to help give a presentation on natural filtration systems at the UC Cooperative Extension Los Angeles office and the also at the Orange County Water District's annual Children's Water Festival. And as part of our presentation, we conducted an experiment that mimicked how the purification process of runoff water or wastewater would look like. And this presentation was honestly a hit with a wide range of audiences finding it very entertaining and informative. As I mentioned before, I didn't really get too many opportunities to work with ArcGIS, but I still would like to highlight the work I did do for it, since it's definitely more than anything else I've done prior to this fellowship. I recently joined the Impervious Surfaces Research Group project, and this project's specific objectives have yet to be fully determined, as I have only met with this cohort only 2 times virtually. However, until our next meeting, I started utilizing data provided by the Multi-Resolution Land Characteristics Consortium to start mapping out the fractional impervious surface area and land cover within the state of California from the years 1985 to 2025. I personally like to thank R.A. Jong Levenger, who's another member of the project team and a postdoctoral fellow at Chapman University, for basically teaching me the ropes when working with this specific data on ArcGIS. My first assignment on ArcGIS, though, was actually to work with data provided by the individual sampling sites mapped out across the. Sorry, I skipped something. No, it was to work with data provided by the Department of Pesticides and Regulation, DPR. And basically, what I was asked to do was pinpoint the individual sampling sites mapped out across the 4 Southern California counties. Again, as I mentioned before, showing the area coverage where DPR has sampling sites helped our team in better knowing where certain pesticides are seen in sampled water. Okay. Lastly, we also wanted to get the ball rolling on the GIS story map that would have highlighted community water resilience champions. However, we are still collaborating with members from the Santa Margarita Water District on finalizing an efficient community survey for the story map. So yeah, reflections and conclusions. I think the number one barrier for me was how difficult it was to kind of adjust to my position's hybrid status, especially when early into the fellowship, I had to do a lot of sitting and waiting around before being able to actually begin working on various job assignments. Prior to joining South Coast Rec, I was pretty familiar with roles that required me to set much of my own schedule and project deadlines. Nevertheless, transitioning from a more active laboratory research group to a predominantly office desktop setting was challenging, to say the least. It sometimes didn't feel so fulfilling to spend some days, the entirety of some days, like navigating ArcGIS Pro or the Microsoft suite, and at times it was also a little discouraging to go long periods without interacting with anybody from the actual community. Um, Sometimes I felt a little disconnected from my work, and that was challenging to navigate. But what did do to overcome these barriers? I basically branched out of my normal workspace to find external events, workshops, and trainings that would allow me to genuinely connect more with my SoCal neighbors and apply what I had learned asynchronously to a practical setting. In doing so, I found third places that helped me separate my work and home lives. I discovered ways in which I could bring my work back to ground zero as a local climate activist. I understood that my title as a research and extension specialist involved making water resilient resources um, more accessible, primarily through online mediums. However, extending my presence to alternative physical spaces rather than simply behind a computer screen did wonders in boosting my morale and connection to the community. And admittedly, it did take me time to realize that the end result of our practice at South Coast Rec in regenerative agriculture and research and extension, um, it doesn't necessarily witness an overnight turnaround. You know, it can take weeks, months, and even years before being able to fully revel in the impact of our work. And whereas, like when I first approached the field, I was expecting for my efforts to be rewarded with like an immediate change. Um, it was very enlightening to learn that the foundation of any type of environmental outreach and education is establishing long-lasting relationships between organization and community representatives, doing our best to build that people pipeline in the name of climate action. Although it was a hard pill to swallow, I was grateful to be reminded of the importance behind the phrase eco versus ego. It helped me to slow down and understand that progress not only takes time, but it's not always linear too. I think, oh, I don't know what's, sorry. Wait, what? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so I'd like to conclude by just thanking the following people, the Grizzly fam, for all the support, community, and guidance, especially when I felt some like trouble with a lot of things. Dr. Esther Lofton for being such a great mentor and allowing me that space to practice a bit of like creative freedom with designing a lot of the materials that I had created over the past months. South Coast Rec, of course, for welcoming me into their family. The Ventura County RCD, as what I mentioned before, those external events and trainings. I received my firefighter type 2 training with them and also my chainsaw training. So I spent a lot of time with them and also got to join them on a prescribed burn a few weeks ago. And the Inland Empire RCD for offering a few volunteer events where I got to connect more locally because I'm not based in Irvine, I'm based in Redlands. California Volunteers, the IE Solstice Theater, where I got to help with the community play, and my family. So thank you, everybody. I'm open to questions too.